Working, and today is still the 26th. Fantastic. Good morning. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm joined by Chief James Raymer of the Toronto Police Service in studio, and we're talking about traffic, policing, stuff you want to know. So if you've got questions, please use the Q&A function on Instagram, TikTok, or enter it into the chat. If you're watching on Twitter, that doesn't work. So use the link in the link tree, which is in the bio, to actually go out and join us either on TikTok or the other platforms where the Q&A does work. So we're here for as long as, well, I'll be here for at least an hour, and we'll get the chief to stay as long as he's able to, and he's a busy person, so we can't keep him through beyond meetings. So I see that we've got questions already coming in. I don't know if that's an interesting question. So, oldest cop hired with the TPS. Do you know who the oldest new hires mean?
I can't give you the definitive number, but we've actually had officers hired in their 50s. And the most recent graduating class had at least one in their 40s. So, but I believe the oldest might have been around 55.
I think in my class there was somebody in 50 or 51, and I wasn't that old, but I'm approaching that age. So, that's still a good age. And the average, I think, is about 30. At least it has been over the years.
It has been. You're starting to see that number progress a little bit downward now. We're starting to look at people a little bit younger that are meeting the criteria and successfully passing the psychologist testing and everything. So yeah, it's probably coming down a little bit, maybe averaging, say, in the 27, 28 range.
Right on. That's great. And it's a great segue into the fact that we are hiring. And if you go to www.tps.ca/careers, you can get all the information that you need to know about becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service. And the fact is, we are actively hiring.
Yes, significantly hiring both police officers and special constables. And matter of fact, we were just talking about looking at some of the budget items there yesterday, and we hire police officers 3 times a year to go to Elmer, and in April, August, and December, and we anticipate we would like to get, as long as there's the capacity at the college, to get 120 hired for each of those 3 classes going forward in 2023.
That's awesome. If you're interested, if you have a desire to be a police officer, now is an excellent time to apply. I remember when I was applying, it was thousands of applications for very few positions, but with just with the way things are working with retirements and the age of the average officer now, it's really good timing to apply. Let's see here. We have a question about, The Rock was in town and did a number of things. I think he was promoting his new movie. Did you get to meet The Rock?
No, actually I didn't, and I have to tell you, probably like your caller, I would have loved to have had the opportunity to do that. I was actually away in Dallas at the International Association of Chiefs of Police that week, so I wasn't here anyways. But
that's too bad. Yeah, I would have loved to have met him too.
Fan,
yeah, the Motor Squad got to meet him, and I'm a little bit jealous, a little bit. Okay, what's going on with all the gun violence in Toronto?
Yeah, no, it definitely is a significant issue that we're putting many resources into, but it really is it's every level of government has to be involved in this, and the city is contributing budget-wise, and so is the province, and I know the federal government is working on it as well, but we have to do more to prevent the illegal firearms that are coming across the border from the United States. I mean, that is a simple reality. Over 90% of the crime guns being used in the city of Toronto and for much of the province are coming from the United States. And so we're working with our U.S. partners, quite frankly. They're well aware of it, doing more work with us than they have ever before to try to stem that tide. But it is a very significant issue that is our number one priority.
Absolutely. We have a question about going back to the hiring. Is there an age limit to be hired?
Actually, I don't think there's actually a limit. I mean, that was, there was a time where, like when I started, along with height requirements, you couldn't be older than 35. Well, that has changed. And like I said, I think the oldest we may have had is 55. And you're really subject to the very demanding physical testing requirements, in particular once you get older, and so that's probably the most difficult hurdle in trying to do it. But there really is not
If you can pass the test and you
Yeah.
can make the grade, then
It really has. Up to about that age is what we've seen someone being successful at.
Awesome. There's a question about automated speed enforcement. They want to know if you can get demerit points, and I can just quickly answer the fact that no, there's no demerit points for automated speed enforcement. Still need a police officer to issue tickets that have that consequence. Okay, we talked about that. We have a question of why doesn't the Toronto Police have their own helicopter? That's a question that came in through volley earlier.
Well, it's not that it hasn't been looked at. I mean, in the early 2000s, when Chief Fantino was here, they did a pilot for about 6 months. I know there was a lot of pushback from the community about noise levels. I know there were issues with flight paths at the airport. When Chief Blair became chief, we moved away from that pilot and made no efforts really to operate with a helicopter. We do have the benefit of using helicopters in York and Durham on occasion when we need them, and then the OPP for that matter as well. And we do that, and that's something that I think people need to understand is that. We really do force multiply as police organizations. We're very integrated. So some have helicopters, some have mounted units as we do. We currently have just had our mounted officers in Kingston assisting the Kingston Police Service. Everybody knows back in February they were in Ottawa. So we support other services with some of our infrastructure, and then other services will likewise support us. And so that works very, very effectively for us. I think with the advent too, currently, with drones and things of that nature, we're able to do some of the things with drones that previously had been done solely by helicopter. So that's been a key feature.
And that's amazing. I've seen some recent footage that was shared with me for major events that we were part of, and it's so crisp, it's so clean, and it's a tiny little device. It's really amazing. I remember remote-controlled cars and planes when I was a kid, and there was no video being sent back, and this stuff's doing movie-quality shooting. That's my new hobby. I've got to get one.
Yeah, no, the technology is improving rapidly all the time.
I like it, and the only thing is that it's harder to bypass traffic in a drone. You can't go anywhere any faster, but at least no distance. What happened to Blinky, the Toronto police car?
We do have Blinky.
He's parked in the back.
Yeah. So and I'm just trying to think of the most recent event. I mean, perhaps you haven't seen him as much just over the last couple of years because of COVID, and we haven't had the opportunity to be out at events. But no, Blinky is very much alive and well, and you'll see as we get involved in different community events more now. You'll see him back out there again.
Yeah, no, he's. I remember being a kid at school and having Blinky show up and doing. It was a whole presentation. It was a big part of being a kid in the 80s. But we can't get enough of Blinky. Maybe we need an updated Blinky. He's not as modern a car anymore. But because I think most people seeing Blinky in its current state would say that that's a car that they've never seen before. It's an older 80s vehicle, but still awesome. Let's see here. Okay, we have. So recently we've had a lot of questions about this. I've done some presentations and I've been asked the same question. Does Vision Zero work?
I believe it does, and that's why we're committed to it. To me, it's really a combination of the newer technology now with cameras. I'd like to see some additional cameras, particularly the one that I'd like to see implemented is a not stopping before making a right turn on a red light. A huge impact with particularly pedestrian traffic, and it's frequent. You see it everywhere that it's happening. But you know what? You need the officer on the ground, the enforcement, because there's things that are not seen by camera or cannot be observed by camera, and it needs to be the type of enforcement that only a police officer can do. And the reality is, when there is no threat of enforcement, for lack of a better word, and people feel that they can operate with impunity, the driving behavior gets worse. And I'll give you a specific example. It's like speed on the highways. Mm-hmm. You drive on an interstate in the United States, there is a state trooper every couple of miles, and he has radar. and people will drive accordingly. Because
Absolutely.
if you don't, you're getting stopped. There's the perfect example of what enforcement does when people have an understanding of being caught, and so that's a reality, and so I think there's a very, very important role, and it will save lives, because preventing that type of, because we've all seen that type of some of the driving behavior that's out there.
It's funny you bring up the whole right turn on red situation. I've had a number of people reach out to me, and they were baffled by the fact that they received red light tickets from the automated enforcement when they made right turns. And my question is, did you stop for the red light? And they said, no. There seems to be a lack of education or understanding, and that's what we do so much of what we do to narrow the gap and explain things. But they were unaware, and they're licensed drivers who were unaware that you have to stop for a right turn on it.
Well, it's absolutely true, and I understand there's some frustration with people, but I'm seeing people making right turns at relatively high speed. And the potential of going through there, not stopping, there's just so many things that can happen, and it's quite frankly wrong, and it's very dangerous.
We see a lot of minor things, and our focus has been, especially with the Vision Zero enforcement team, to look at aggressive driving, speeding, distracted driving, impaired driving, those things that lead to serious injury and death. And I think for many people, they think that the other stuff's just not important, or we're not enforcing it because it's not the focus of what we do. But we still enforce everything. It's just that we target things to keep people safe.
That's correct.
It's, but it is frustrating. We see a lot of people with little things like peeling plates, something that frustrates us, and we do issue tickets for that. It's just not the number one priority.
That's right, and I encourage people, get your plates replaced after they've been out there a certain period of time. It's your responsibility, and these are the type of vehicles that suddenly they're involved in the fail to remain, and there are people and witnesses nearby, and they can't have any description of the vehicle simply because the plates aren't proper. You need to have readable plates, and it's I know with the ministry they give you a 5-year warranty, and after the 5 years. If your plate is unreadable, then it's your responsibility to replace it.
And it's only $52. I mean, that may be a lot of money for some people, but $52 is certainly better than the $110 plus for not dealing with it.
Well, it's part of your responsibility as a user on the roadway, right? And it's frankly, it's part of your responsibility.
And the service, and the province is now not even charging you to renew it. So you've got this newfound money from not having to renew. You can certainly invest in keeping your plates up to date and legible. Just for anyone who's tuning in and doesn't know who I am or who's standing next to me, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. We go on social media Monday to Friday for Ask a Traffic Cop, answering your traffic and police questions. And joining me in studio today is Chief James Raymer of the Toronto Police Service. He's the big boss, and he's come by. This is, I think, your 4th time on TikTok and on social media with us. So thank you again for joining us. It's an honor. Now, we have questions that are coming in. Oh, we have just a quick couple of things. Sean Chen says hello. Rob Baker says good morning. Big Jeff Fresh and Akila Draconis and Tracy Bell, all regular viewers who are giving you shout-outs and greetings. Let's see here. We have... some things. Well, there's a question about the limit to the brightness of headlights, and I can address it really quickly. Yeah, there's such a thing as having improper headlights that are too bright. That's why you can't drive with your high beams on. But there are some lights that are not legal. We got here. What car have you caught the most? Well, you've recently had some vehicle stops with your car.
Yeah, actually, I mean, from my perspective, since I haven't issued a ticket in a very long time, but we have my security team has made some stops, particularly on the 407, and I find it's a range of vehicles that we've actually stopped. There's no one particular vehicle, but from my perspective, anyways, it seems that you can be. With the engineering now, some of these small cars, 4 cylinders, will move at very good speed, and so it really, I think, depends on the driver. But
well, I always say it's irrelevant what the vehicle is; it's the behavior that we're stopping.
That's correct.
It's really. I don't think even when I was on the road, and I haven't been on the road for some time, that there was a particular make or model that was more a violator than others. It was just whatever was doing it in front of me.
I think maybe we think back to the old days, when I think of it, back when I was younger, where you'd see all of these, different cars like the Barracudas and all of that, and they were all, done up differently, big tires and exhausts, and you don't see as much as that anymore, right? Those are rare. It's more people like my generation having collectibles now, right?
Yeah.
You don't really see those as much, right? But I think with engineering now, cars are so fast.
Let's see here. Oh, here's a good question from Crystal, who's not in Toronto, but regularly comes to watch the show. The question says, Chief, this is not about traffic, but is there more police officers being trained to respond to children or adults with special needs? I know the community policing is there, but you really don't see, at least where I live, a lot of community police officers.
Yeah, actually, that's a great question. I mean, our neighborhood community officers are really one of the best features we have as an organization, and it's the way we want to go in policing. Unfortunately, we just don't have the numbers currently to expand beyond the neighborhoods we have. Ideally, we'd like to be in all of the neighborhoods across the city. And they're very well trained. They create great relationships with the community. And then, we also have, working with the MCIT, our officers and our nurses that are specially trained to deal with different community crisis issues. And because of the lack of availability on the night shift for some of the nurses, we're training more of our officers with this enhanced mental health and community crisis training, so that there's more available to attend the type of different events that perhaps you're describing. We're really trying to make headway. And then, of course, we have our partnership with the city and our Gerstein pilot and our communications, where we're using social workers to do a lot of calls where police officers are not required. So it's really a number of things that are currently underway that's helping us to be a better police service and for the community to be served even better.
Those teams do amazing work. They really do. There's a couple of questions. Some that are very much about you, and then there's one here about photo radar. So we'll talk about this one first. I think photo radar machines keep getting vandalized, and I imagine they want to know what we're doing about it.
It's definitely happening. I think it's some frustration on some people in the community. Maybe in particular neighborhoods, I'm really not sure. I mean, it's not something we do respond when we have to attend, but it's certainly not at the top of the list of things that we need to get to in terms of police priorities.
So what we need is security cameras for the photo cameras. Yep. Cameras for the cameras. It is amazing is that, it's interesting that people are so upset by the fact that they're getting tickets for breaking the law that they choose to break the law to try and prevent them from getting caught. It's a funny circle. Chase asked a question wanting to know what makes TPS unique from other police services.
You know what? I don't know if I would describe us as unique as other services, because policing is so similar across the province, the country, and indeed North America. As I said earlier, I was at the U.S. conference last week and with a number of Canadian chiefs as well, and we all, come away from there saying everything is so similar in terms of what we're dealing with across North America. But I think in terms of Toronto, say within the province of Ontario, we're bigger, we're more diverse, because of the nature of the city, because we're the home of the Blue Jays and the Raptors and the Maple Leafs, and just major community events, the Pride Parade. We're just larger and have different things to deal with. We had the Rolling Loud concert for the 3-day weekend in September. Those are the types of things that I think make Toronto different. We're more in the spotlight that way because of the major events. The fourth biggest city in North America, very dynamic city, and I think that if I was going to use the word unique, it's more about size and scope than it is about the type of policing that we're doing.
Well, we have that population density that flexes every day for people who live elsewhere and come to work here, so our numbers go up and down. We have some unique, I guess, situations that way. And as you said, all those festivals, which really make Toronto awesome. Yeah. There's so much going on here. Another question from Chase was, what are some day-to-day tasks as a chief that you deal with? What sort of your day look like?
Oh, well, it's, I suppose if you look at it, if we just pick out any day, I start with briefings in the morning about what's happened across the city, particularly overnight since, I went home the last evening, and that day will start that way. And then it's usually, quite frankly, a series of meetings. about things that are underway in the city, with the community, with our partners. Whether it's with mental health issues, whether it's the opioid crisis, whether it's purchases that we have to make in the organization, our own administration, and there's a lot of community events that I attend to. And I was at the Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center gala event last night, as an example, is some of the things that we regularly do working with our community. It was just an absolutely terrific event, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the guest speaker, right? Yeah,
That's amazing.
it was an incredible event. So I mean, that's sort of like the typical day, and then quite frankly, we're always having to look at mitigating risk in the organization, and in terms of how our officers are behaving, their conduct. And what can we do better? How can we train them, give them better tools to do their job? So we're always assessing what's happening out there with our college staff and our senior management team. So these are the type of things that are the regular part of the day.
Everybody ultimately reports to you, so you've got a lot of things, a lot of balls in the air. We've got a question about both of us. Did both of us attend OPC, the Ontario Police College? And I did.
Yes, I did. It is a requirement to graduate from there to become a police officer in the province of Ontario. I started there in I think August of 1980 and graduated in February of 81.
Uh-oh, we had something go on here. We'll jump back in. TikTok crashed. Resume. We are back. There was a technical hiccup. TikTok crashed.
I think we're going to have to invest in some of the work you're doing here.
We may need more stuff. Well, we'll work at it. I try and do all this stuff with as little money spending as possible. Occasionally people come up and say, how can you be spending tax dollars to be on TikTok and talk about traffic? They see that many people think that this is something that we do for fun, or that's not policing and not education. And I really welcome those conversations, because we talk about just how many people we help on a regular basis. Amazingly, our reach has gone so far beyond that of just Toronto. We're obviously, when we go to shows and events, historically we talk to a few hundred people over a weekend, or maybe a few thousand people. We'll be well over 10,000 people that we're speaking to just on TikTok alone today. We have almost 600,000 followers now. It's truly amazing. But we always get those few people who say this is an inappropriate spending or waste of time.
No, well, I mean, that's unfortunate to have that view, but I mean, this is a great program. It's a great in terms of education. It's great to understand and answer the questions and understand what the community is asking about, what they're concerned about, and we can educate them, have a little bit of, create more of a relationship with the police and an understanding of the work that we do. It's an outstanding program, and that's actually, frankly, why I'm here, Sean, and why we're going to try to make some efforts to get you some enhanced tools here to do the job that you do.
That's fantastic. Thank you, sir. What was the question? It just popped up. It looked interesting. Oh, somebody said Canada is cool. That was a comment that just slid by. I guess being that you're, seeing the chief of police on TikTok is impressive. And I don't think anybody else has ever done it. I don't know if there's any other chiefs that come on a regular basis and spend time on social media. So it is cool. Jace, who's coming in from Saskatchewan, wants to know how long it took you to work your way up to the rank of chief.
Wow, that's a good question too. It took for me it was a long time. I mean, I'm retiring at the end of the year, and that'll be about 42 and a half years service, and so about 2.5 years as chief. So I'd say 40 years, but I mean, it's not in a position I aspire to, and I was sort of fortunate to get asked to do it for a while. But the reality is, moving up in the organization, generally, to become a senior officer, it's about 20 years service. And that's the rank of inspector, and that's really probably the average across the organization. And then you're moving. We used to have staff inspector. Now we move directly to superintendent rank, chief superintendent, deputy chief. So you move through that, and it's generally a long period of and it was longer in my generation. There was more ranks. and people. It was just a different generation where we had many more people moving through. Now in policing, people are being promoted much more quickly. The baby boomer generation is leaving. There's lots of change, and so we're having to get people ready much more quickly. We're moving them around much more quicker than we used to in the past. I've had some counselors say to me, "Oh, that's a great inspector, and you're already moving them." And say, "Yeah, I know, but we have to go and we have to give them other opportunities to develop, so they can have they require the knowledge, skills, and ability to achieve the next rank and succession plan in the organization." So it's just really changed. So I wouldn't necessarily be the model in terms of time. It was much longer in going through the different ranks.
There has been a trend of some very young chiefs in comparison to the yesteryear. So I think we have a chief that's in his 40s in Ontario.
Yep. Yes, we do. Yeah, and I think you're going to see more of that in the future as well, right? Later half of the 40s, early 50s, you'll see chiefs. Yeah.
We've got a question asking if you've ever worked for any other service.
No, I have not. I mean, I've worked as part of joint forces units where I've worked with other services like the OPP and the RCMP together, but I've always been a member of the Toronto Police Service.
What about speaker at night? Are you talking? They might be asking if we're doing this event at night. Is that what you mean? If so, I generally work from 6 to 2, so this usually happens as a morning thing. But we've done some afternoon and evening things, so we'll see. We might be able to do that in the future. Let's see here. We have. Oh, what's your favorite sports team? That's come up a couple of times.
Well, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. Always has been. I think I was, about 8 years old the last time they won, but nonetheless, avid fan and hope they're going to achieve some good success this year again.
Another question for you about your career with the police service. Did you have any other family in the Toronto Police?
Yes, I do. My daughter is with the service, and I have 2 nephews as well that are with the service.
That's awesome. We have a question about you retiring. They want to know if you're going to come back again before you retire, if you're going to come back on TikTok again.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, because my last working day is December 19th, and that's when we'll do the changeover, and Chief Designate Demke will take over. And we're in really good hands, an outstanding police officer, an outstanding selection, so I look forward to that.
Yeah, but apparently they'd like to see you on one more time before you retire.
Oh yeah, we are. Yeah, we're only in October, so
there's some time. There's some time, but that's awesome that they're already trying to schedule your next visit. Okay. So Akela's son, Kevin, wants to know if both of us are cat or dog people.
I can do both. A fan of both, quite frankly. My wife is allergic to cats, so I've never had one in the house since I've got married. But we've had multiple dogs and dogs with my kids as well, and we end up babysitting dogs, and so dogs have been a big part of our life.
I'm allergic to cats, but I grew up with cats. I just had a lot of congestion, and but so at this point I'm petless. But I did have a dog for many years, and I love animals. So thanks for that. Someone just said, "Rest in peace, Constable Andrew Hong." That's thank you. Obviously, we're still adjusting to life without Andrew here. Some questions about radar speed trap detectors. So we're talking about radar detectors. They want to know if they're illegal or not, and they are illegal. Yeah, it's funny. It's one of those things that many people don't know, that not only are they illegal, but the Highway Traffic Act gives us search and seizure authority based on the belief, if we believe that it's in the car, and they were shocked when we can go and search the vehicle for it and any person in it. So it's an interesting conversation. What I'm actually confused about or shocked by is that some provinces do allow them.
Yes, yeah, but here not in Ontario. That's right.
No, you can't possess, sell, buy. They've really nailed it down. The only thing you can have is if you manufacture them here as a manufacturer, you can export them if they're transported in a sealed container out of province. Let's see here. People want to know if, what was it? It was, do you pull people over for tailgating? Yeah, following too close is a thing. Okay. Oh, there was a question about the Diverging Diamond interchange in Niagara. Have you had a chance to see that, or that new design for moving traffic on and off the highway? It's supposed to be very, very efficient, and it's supposed to reduce the chances of collision quite considerably. But many people want to know how that's working. But I've yet to go out and try it.
No, neither have I. I mean, I'm familiar with the concept, but I haven't actually seen it.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things that I've got to go take a drive and check it out. But apparently, it's very easy to do once the concept behind it is confusing. When someone tries to describe about how you cross into opposing traffic sides, but on paper it doesn't make sense. In person, it does. Let's see here. I want to make sure we got all this. Halloween coming up. Are we doing anything to promote safety?
Well, actually, we do have a traffic campaign coming up, and it starts actually on the morning of Halloween, and it's about staying focused, stay alive. And so we'll have officers focusing on that. The first week of the program is really going to be about education. And then the second week is going to be about enforcement. And that's what we try to do now. We try to put people, give them a heads up that we're going to be paying attention to this. And then we'll follow that with enforcement.
Yeah, these are all things we're always trying to keep people safe. We're always trying to educate, and that's what we do every day is trying to make sure that the education part leads, before people start getting the consequences. Because if they didn't know, here we're doing that outreach to say you should have known, but here's the scoop. And the concept of enforcement is to change the bad behavior. No one likes a ticket, and if they get a ticket, hopefully they change their behavior. They'd like to know. This is Amanda who would like to know, as a police officer, what was your favorite part of the job?
Oh, well, you know what? Policing is unique in some ways in the sense that, you can come into policing and there's so many opportunities for so much, such variety of work, staying within the same job. And that's something that I've always enjoyed. And I've had a number of, I've had an opportunity to work across the organization in operational position and in management positions. And I've enjoyed every place I have, because there's such good people everywhere you go that we're working that really have a genuine and sincere commitment to policing. But if you were to ask me what was my favorite working time or unit in the job, it was when I worked in the homicide squad for 5 years. I found that very, very satisfying, and occasionally, and I've done it once, I went with my old partner out there a couple of years ago, just went out for a homicide. Sometimes some of our members just have to get used to me being there, but and I plan to do that again before I retire. But that was definitely my favorite experience during my career.
I'm to go from a serious and good question. This was a silly question, but I'll read it anyway. Will I get in trouble for driving with a monkey? Occasionally we get some great questions, but I'll tell you, people do drive with their pets on their lap all the time, and that is illegal and unsafe for not only the driver, for the distraction because it's a careless driving charge, but because they don't make very good windows. It's hard to see through fluffy that's sitting on your lap sometimes if it's blocking the window.
Well, and they become a real problem. And I sort of liken that, Sean, to when you see people holding a child in their arms in the front seat and not being in a proper car seat. I mean, if you have to brake suddenly and significantly on impact, your arms are like noodles. And we've seen the results of what happens under that thing. And that's why, we're pretty stringent about making sure that you have a proper child seat in the car for the safety of the child, right? Things have changed. I mean, years ago when I was a child, we didn't even have seatbelts in the car. But now we know what is safe. And so that's why those things are in place.
We spend so much time trying to protect vulnerable road users, and sometimes those vulnerable road users are the passengers in your car. And then people say, well, if it's unsafe for a passenger or a child to be in a car without a car seat, well, how can we do it in a taxi, and how can we do it in a school bus, and how can we be on a transit? And those are because we have to allow certain essential transportation opportunities. But the statistically, not just statistically, it's unsafe to be in a motor vehicle as a child. There's so many risks, but I don't know what else to say about it. Like, the people want to do some really wild things. We had a video that was circulated on TikTok where someone was driving on the road with a child in the lap, playing with the steering wheel just last week, and it was in Peel. So they hopefully were able to catch them. Let's see here. How's your time going, by the way?
No, I'm good. I got about another 10 minutes.
Okay. I don't want to keep you longer than we don't want to be greedy with your time. Here's an interesting question. Let's see here. We know the answer is but is there a high demand for police constables? They may have just tuned in and missed the earlier discussion about hiring.
Yes, and we are. We're doing a lot of hiring. I mean, policing is in demand across the province. It's even our capacity to go through the Ontario Police College, as every police officer in the province has to go through there to graduate. And we hope to be hiring in 2023, ideally 360 new officers. So and in addition to that, special constables. Right, and so we're looking to try to grab some of the younger people right out of high school, and we want to start a program where there is a requirement of being in that position. They're going to have to continue to go to school. It's about lifelong learning, and so we want to be able to grab some people that might be interested in policing, start as a special constable for a number of years, and then if they're interested and we deem them ready, then we could move them to as a constable.
Similar to how the cadet program used to work.
Exactly.
Nice. I like that. I think that's a great idea. Now, here's a question about texting and driving. Should I call emergency police on person texting? And that's a vague question because we're a broad concept. I mean, if you saw someone who was all over the road, they could be impaired and texting. It could be so many different things at work. And impairment can. I remember we saw a video again on TikTok where someone was all over the road. Turns out they were texting, and it was believed that they were impaired.
Yeah, and that we've seen a lot of that. I've witnessed it myself. You ask yourself, the person is either impaired or they're texting. It's so obvious when they're driving. I mean, it's realistically, I think it is worthy of an emergency call if it's ongoing like that, and that's significant. The reality is the ability to actually intervene there can sometimes be difficult depending on the circumstances. But while we're on that topic, one of the things that I think all services are dealing with, and it's a significant issue in Toronto, is the 911 number being called unnecessarily. And really, you want to call 911 when there is an emergency. It's impacting our ability to answer the call, to meet the standards, because of the number of calls that we get that don't require 911 services, are not an emergency. And you need to call the 911 or the non-emergency line, or you need to call the city's 211 line for different services, and not use 911. 911 must be used for purposes of emergencies.
When someone's life is at risk, when
someone's
when there's something happening right now.
When it's being used improperly, it's starting to now impact our ability to handle the true emergencies. I can't emphasize the importance of it.
And just going back to texting, if the driving behavior is such that life is at risk right now, that's when it's, the fact that they have a cell phone in their hand does not denote an emergency. It may be breaking the law, but if they're all over the road, that is an immediate risk to the public, to the people around you, including the person in that car. And it's important to make the differentiation.
Yeah.
Let's see here. There was a great question, and did it go away? Sorry. Oh, here, this one is from Crystal. She says, I give you big props. Not a lot of police officers want to do social media, but it really seems like you care about your community and you care about your police officers. And I assume this is directed at you, Chief.
Oh, thanks, Crystal.
Always nice to get the feedback. Maybe I already put it on screen and that's why. Yes, no, we covered that one already. So many questions. It's hard to, and I apologize, not everyone who's asked a question have I been able to respond to because there's just so many. And if you're just tuning in and don't know who we are, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. And of course, next to me is Chief James Raymer, the Chief of the Toronto Police Service. Okay. I have, how many officers are in command staff estimated?
Well, command staff is we have 4. We have myself, of course, as the chief, and then 4 deputy chiefs of police, which include our deputy chief of administration, our deputy chief of technology and innovation, and then we have our field command deputy and our specialized command deputy. And then we have 7 chief superintendents that form part of the senior management team. And so that's really what we refer to as the command.
And that's not a lot considering how many members we have.
That's correct. We have about 7,400 members, and that's the senior management team. I mean, there's other senior officers in the organization, superintendents, inspectors, civilian directors as well, but in terms of uniform, that's what we have.
Now, a question, did you ever regret leaving the streets to go work in an office?
I wouldn't say I regret. Sometimes you miss some of the stuff that was happening. So when you move through the ranks as a senior officer, as the intelligence commander or as the ETF commander, you did get out on major operations and stuff, which was always a lot of fun to be out and to actually see your people doing their job as well as they do. So yeah, but not really missing it. It's a different type of work. It's a different role that you have, and sometimes, like I say, you miss some of the stuff that the frontline officers are doing. But it's a different role, and I wouldn't say I regret it. I think it's been almost like a natural evolution or transition.
Awesome. Well, there's the last question about your career. Wanting to know, did you ever work undercover?
Yeah, I did. Not in a major way. I think sometimes when we think of undercover, we think of some major work as on TV or some of our undercover officers in the drug squad. I didn't. I worked in a major crime office, in a plainclothes office, and we would pose as different people rather than police officers. So it was more in a limited fashion.
So not that deep cover checking in.
Everybody used to tell me I stuck out too much. So
well, I've always assumed that I would not be the ideal undercover officer, and since being on TikTok, I think that it's forever done.
Yeah. Me too. It wasn't something that was for me.
Well, I know you said you had about 10 minutes. I think we've spent about 10 minutes. It's a quarter to. We can keep going, or if you've got to head back.
Let's do another question or two.
Okay, sounds good. Is security experience an asset to becoming a police officer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any lived experience that you have prior to coming into the police service is valuable, and don't ever think that it's not. We're talking about maturity. We're talking about opportunities for compassion and empathy and some of the key characteristics we look in our people. And you can get that in so many different aspects of life and professions. And so any of that life experience is valuable. So don't ever think that think that you need to exclude yourself from applying if you have an interest in this work. Come and see us. We'll talk to you. And in fact, we have people in our HR. If you're truly interested, we'll help mentor you and tell you, give you some idea on some of the things you might have to work on if you have to meet a particular standard to get in.
And the goal is to hire good applicants. So if you're a good applicant, they're going to help you along the way and give you the best advice.
That's the most important thing. We want good people, and any of that experience that you gain in life is valuable.
The website again for our employment information is www.tps.ca/careers, and there's all sorts of great information there. Anything you want to know, and of course the contact information to get in touch with a recruiter who can then help you further. There's a question about implementing the polygraph test. I think Ontario is the only province that doesn't have a polygraph for hiring, so they'd like to know if we're going to add that.
We have not currently have any intention of adding the polygraph. As you said, we don't generally do it here in Ontario, although some of our federal partners do. But we have not made a decision on that.
It's interesting, it's such a polarizing topic for many, but we do have a polygraph unit that does that kind of work. So. Interesting police stuff.
I see they just had that question there, Sean, about do you have to have police foundations to apply? And the answer is no. As I said earlier, any type of life experience is valuable. So The absolute minimum right now is a high school education. We'd like to see some second, the next level education as well, but it's not absolutely essential.
Okay. Well, this is someone who's making silly statements. I can remove that. Did you struggle with anything in police training? Is a question from Morgan. For me, it was always the run. As a big guy, the shuttle run was never fun. But I got it. I did it.
Yeah.
I worked hard. But there was no topic that I had a hard time with.
No, I mean, I there was nothing I really struggled with. I mean, having said that, it was a lot of work. And I think if you put the work in, you're going to do fine. And for whatever reason, I was fortunate enough not to really struggle with anything. So.
Okay, I think. Do you offer internships for university students?
There's the odd program that we will bring somebody in for. One of the internships that we do is actually our YIPPY program, which is our Youth in Policing Initiative, and but that's for a younger cadre of staff, and it's a terrific program that we've had in place for close to 20 years now. And but we do the occasional thing if there's a specific item that or area that we might get somebody involved in for a program, but it's not a standard program for us in a broad way across the organization. It's not.
And we've had some students that are yippies or were yippies that are police officers now. They've actually come back.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's a great program too. It gives us great exposure, and we're going to have officers, as I said earlier, going out to some of the schools and talking to youth to try to encourage some people to consider policing after high school. And like I say, you'll have to continue your education as while you work with us at the service.
Josh wants to know: is this the TPS police chief?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, the one and only. You don't have they don't have the benefit of seeing your name on as they do on YouTube. Which we're announcing, it says right on the screen. But yes, Chief James Raymer. I'm Sean Shapiro from the Toronto Police Service. I work in traffic, and this is Ask a Traffic Cop. What is this? Can we? No, that we're not doing. Okay. Some. If you're going to ask questions, only one at a time. And I don't say one at a time. Only one time, because I'm scrolling through some duplicates that we've already covered, but I can't delete them just yet. What's up? No, we can't go there. They want to know products that we recommend. We don't endorse products. What do you like to do in your free time?
Well, my free time in this current position, frankly, is quite limited. I do like to read something other than police-related material when I get some time to relax and sort of re-energize a little bit. But and I as I said earlier with my favorite team, I enjoy getting out to a Leafs game, watching sports. Loved watching the Blue Jays. I guess with everybody else in the city, massive disappointment after their loss in the playoffs there. But yeah, it's just an opportunity to relax with friends and family, and have dinners together, and that's what I enjoy.
Here's a question that talks about the succession plan, like how do they choose a chief? So the question was from Keith. You said you're retiring. How is your successor chosen?
Well, it's our job as command officers to actually ensure that we are creating a succession plan within the organization and identifying people and giving them opportunities and giving them the requisite training and opportunities to move across the organization to gain the experience they have so they can compete for that position. And then, of course, the board, who has the responsibility of appointing the chief, will then do a cross-country hiring process, and they hire a professional company in to sort of oversee that program. They bring in community people to be involved in that process, as they did with our current process, and then they go through interviews and screening of resumes, and then a smaller number of interviews, and then after some in-depth research and analysis and interviews, they make a selection. And so that's how Chief Designate Dempsey was selected, and he has a broad range of experience across the organization, and was a terrific selection.
A couple of questions just came in. One from Big Jeff Fresh, who says, "Does the chief ever tune into this show on his own time while doing paperwork or other things?"
You know what? I'm not a big streamer, but I have to tell you, since I got on the program, I guess the iterations four times before, I actually have tuned in a couple of times, and it's interesting how much it's been picked up by even the mainstream media. And I know at 1010 they talk about you a lot as well too. So as I said earlier, very, very valuable. And you're doing a great job, Sean.
Thanks very much.
Really happy to be a part of it, and I just want to thank everybody for their questions. But I'm going to have to move on today.
Yeah, we had you for almost an hour. It's amazing. Thank you very much for spending time with us and our, us being everyone, the viewers and myself. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks so much, Sean, and everybody have a great day.
We'll see you soon. Take care. Okay, now it's just you and me. Give me 1 second. I will change the look and graphics so that it's, and then, some of the stuff, and the reason why so many of the questions were questions that didn't get addressed is because, they're very specifically traffic questions, and that's very specifically my bag. And asking the chief to talk about some of the traffic stuff, it wouldn't be fair to him. Okay, let me just adjust that. Boy, this is, I tried to make the camera go as far away from me as possible because usually it's this, right? And you got to fit two people on camera, so you got half my nose. Anyway, thanks for spending time. Thanks for interacting. It's so nice to be able to get the chief into the studio and spend time with us because, like I said, he's a busy guy. He runs the show, and I don't think, I think when he said, a couple of briefings, a couple of things, I think he was being very modest as to just how much he was doing. Sorry, just 1 second. There was some paperwork left behind. We'll send it to him. We have internal mail. It's amazing. Somebody asked, how tall am I? I'm 6'5". That is how tall I am. All right, let me switch back to this. All right. And of course, Kyle was asking, sorry, Kyle, we missed your question and the chief is gone, but you want to know if there was one specific event in your policing career that has informed or changed the way you do your job today. A fantastic question, and I apologize that we didn't get to ask. But you know what you can do, because we know the chief is coming back, on our volley space, that's community space, 120 roughly people in it. If you go to our link tree in the bio, if you go to trafficcop.ca, it goes directly to my link tree. You can go to Volley. It's a free app. You can actually get to it through your web browser if you don't want to download an app. And what it is a way for you to ask questions by way of video, voice, or text. It's an awesome way to connect. So we didn't have any video or voice stuff because I would have played it on the air. Now, we're still here for a little bit. I like to, whenever I have a guest, go about a half an hour extra to make sure that, questions that you didn't get answered. Let's see here. Can transports drive in the left lane on 400 highways? Most highways, and 400 included, will have signs that specifically direct traffic or designate use of lanes. So my understanding on 400 series highways is that the left lane has a sign that says no trucks allowed. So if there's no sign present, there's nothing preventing them from being there. Okay. Do you use a breathalyzer to detect marijuana? We do have a unit. It's not a breathalyzer. It uses a buccal swab, and I'm not being trained on it, so I'm not going to tell you how it works because I don't know exactly how it works. But my understanding is you swab the mouth, the inside of the mouth, and from that it determines a content or some reading, whether it be pass, fail, or a number. I don't know. But save and accept, that's great for measuring a number. Really, if you see someone who is impaired We can do a roadside screening device, a roadside sobriety test. You know, that thing you see in the movies, but, you know, walk a straight line, heel toe, that sort of thing. We're trained on how to do that. Alternatively, the next step would be, or actually the next progression would be something called a drug recognition expert. And that is, bringing them before a specially trained police officer who is considered an expert based on their training and qualifications. And they have you perform, or a subject perform, a battery of tests. That battery of tests will, based on the performance, I don't know what the best terminology is, they would determine what category of drug you're on, and their findings would be the same as blowing over essentially in an impaired case, because you would see a suspension and all the stuff that goes with it. Okay, King says, people drive way over the speed limit on highway. Is Toronto Police planning to install any speed cameras on highways? How is Toronto Police planning to stop the reckless driver? Thank you. I love that question, because I, for one, would advocate personally for cameras on the highway, because I do agree with you. There's people going way too fast, like way too fast. And how do we stop that? Well, the only way to stop it is to educate, and if education doesn't work, is to enforce, because that's the options we have. We don't have a remote control to change your maximum speed, which is interesting. If the technology came out, I'd probably go for that too. I don't think there's any plan, and it wouldn't be a Toronto Police plan. It would be a city plan for the city highways. So Don Valley Parkway and the Fred Gardner Expressway are both Toronto city highways. They are not 400 series provincial highways. That's the only stuff we would be monitoring. The Ontario Provincial Police might monitor and police the 400 series highways, and that would be a provincial situation. But currently, there's no law. I don't think the jurisdiction for the traffic cameras would extend to that. It's all school zone related right now. Okay, what else we got? Q&A. Someone says, police officers not stopping at stop signs. Well, that's illegal, because we're not exempt from stop signs. We must stop. In fact, to go through a red light, we must. I think I just. I get shocked. I'm wearing a pin. Yeah, that was shocking. I got shocked through my Andrew Hong Memorial pin. In any case, police officers not stopping at stop signs is illegal. If you were to go through a red light, a signalized intersection displaying a red light, well, we have to come to a complete stop and activate our full emergency equipment to go through it, and then we can turn it off again. But there's no exemption for stop signs. So if police officers are breaking the law going through stop signs, they could be fined internally. They could be charged under the Highway Traffic Act, but I think that the fine would be more in terms of loss of hours. The first time you'd lose 4 hours, second time 8 hours, and 16 hours. That's going to be even more expensive than the HTA offense. And the reason I say it's going to happen is I know people who have done it unintentionally while going to a 911 call, adrenaline's pumping, and they went through a stop sign, was caught on our in-car camera. The camera was reviewed, and when it was reviewed, the supervisor said, "You did wrong. Here you go. You're being charged or disciplined." It does happen. Do you chase motorcycles? There is no blanket vehicle that is exempt from chase. Any vehicle, any situation could result in a police chase. If someone fails to stop for police and there is reason to pursue them, a pursuit might take place. Now, we take into consideration always public safety. That's the highest priority. So if somebody, stole a chocolate bar and then ran away, are we going to chase them go into a high-speed chase over 99 cents? Probably not. Probably we'll have enough information on them. We'll just meet them at their house later. But we're not putting the public at risk for something like that. So it depends. If it's a murder suspect, if there's a person who is armed and dangerous, there's different reasons to pursue, and every situation is different. This is a good question. Turn right from both right turn lanes on a red. I grew up thinking it was illegal. I was wrong. Let's see here. The deal is that you can turn right from both right turn lanes, but you must turn into the appropriate lane, and you must do so safely after coming to a complete stop. So many people don't realize you have to stop for a red light when you're turning right on a red. I don't understand how they got their license if they don't understand that, but many people, I know that's not the question you were asking about, but my goodness. What is this question here? I don't understand what this question is. Flowers and cakes? I don't understand. Okay. What do we got here? I need water is what I need. Can you go left on a red if one-way to one-way? Yes, you can. If you are traveling on a one-way street and you approach another one-way street, you can make a left turn on a red, presuming there's no sign preventing it or restricting that turn. Then yeah, you could. You could. It's rare though. It's not one ways. At least in Toronto, are not as common. I was in Ottawa last week. Holy moly, one-way city. Literally one way everywhere. Took me. I thank goodness for GPS, because I would have been lost 6 ways from Sunday. How can you get a job in the breathalyzer unit? So to become a breath technician, if you're a traffic officer, there's usually two paths for careers. That you either go breath tech or you go reconstruction officer. So my plan was to become a breath tech, just because recon wasn't something I was as interested in. And then I became a motor squad officer, and then I've been here, which is completely not at all what I ever planned on. But both are very rewarding. One of them, there's also a position in terms of the breathalyzer unit to be the breath coordinator. That's one person or two people. 1.5 people? That's 2 people. Let's see here. Can we citizen arrest a police officer for speeding? Well, no, and I'll tell you why. Speeding is something that police officers are exempt for. We are exempt. We're permitted to exceed the speed limit in the lawful execution of our duties, and citizens' arrests don't apply to the provincial acts, which is a citizen's arrest must be a situation of indictable offense. Indictable. What's indictable? Well, it's something that is A, criminal code, B, a big one, murder, for instance, indictable. You know. I'm not going to get into a whole lesson of all the intricacies of citizens arrest, but no, you cannot citizens arrest. I do appreciate the question, though. Let's see here. And should we report a police officer for speeding? You may if you wish. However, I can tell you that the Highway Traffic Act exempts police officers in the lawful execution of their duties from exceeding the speed limit. We have to exceed the speed limit to do so much of what we do, especially when you consider the fact that so many people are speeding on the highway. Just to be able to get in front of them, we must be able to exceed the speed limit. Yeah. Amanda has silly questions. Someone wants to know how many times I pulled my gun, and then tries to make it a racist question, or at least tries to get a racism thing going. I've never had to pull my firearm, ever, except for clearing a building like a dozen times with nobody there. It was an empty building. That was it. I've not had to pull my firearm in the course of my duties at all, ever. Other than for training and, never on work. And I'm glad. People have been fantastic. Even the people that I've arrested have been good. They broke the law, but when it came time to owning up for their mistake or dealing with police, they were good. Very few people, where I had to actually get physical. And, no one wants to get hurt, and no one wants to hurt anybody else, at least nobody that I know. Jace wants to know if I still carry a firearm. I do not. Let's see here. Oh, Jace, I didn't see that you're congratulating the chief on his retirement. But you know what? He's going to come back again, so you'll be able to ask it later. But, were you asking me about the firearm or him? No, we didn't get, and I'll save that question about modified cars for the chief for another day. Okay. What do we got here? Theoretically, how illegal is a dirt bike on roads? Well, not theoretically. Actually, it's totally illegal. Those off-road vehicles are prohibited from being operated on the highway, which is any road in Ontario. Cannot be done. Oh, Chase was asking me the firearm. I love it. I'm getting it on my watch, my Q. I'm getting all these updates from I've got so many screens. Okay. The safe way to put a seatbelt on when pregnant? I don't know. I would suggest consulting with your physician. I know that, and I can't endorse it, but I know that many women, while pregnant, will get an exemption not to wear a seatbelt, which I don't know how that's safer than wearing a seatbelt, but I don't know what the right way it is. So please consult your doctor. That would be my suggestion. What do we got here? How often do you deal with persons under the influence? When I was on the road, it was fairly frequent. I had some weeks where I got arrested someone daily for impaired operation. Daily. So I had twice in one night at times. So impaired operation, now I can't speak to current events because I haven't been on the road for some time. I had a crash in 2018 and I haven't been back on the road since. But prior to that, it was a lot. Radar flashed me turning right on a red. What to do? Chances are you didn't come to a stop prior to making your right on red, which means you ran the red light and you get a ticket. Tickets for everybody. If you don't stop for a red light, you are eligible. What do we got here? What we got? Hey, we do this every day. And if you don't already follow us, please do, because we'd love to have you as part of the fam. You get notified whenever we go live. And normally it's from 10 to 11. Of course, today it's from 9 to 10-ish. And the reason being is we had a special guest. And if you missed the chief, I'm sorry. You can, however, go back and watch it. It'll be available on YouTube on our channel, which is Traffic Services Toronto Police. And it's so cool to have the chief drop by. And really an endorsement on the fact that he appreciates what we're doing on social media. That we're doing this kind of outreach. Education. It's all about the education. What do we have here? Can you get a ticket for going in between the oversized load truck and the oversized load pilot escort pickup truck? Pick truck? Chances are that's going to be or you could get into a careless or unsafe move or follow too close because they don't usually hang back very far from my experience. But, I don't know if there's a specific charge for it, though. I don't think there is. What do we got this? Can I call the police if someone spits on my car? Yeah, you could. Is it worthy of a 911 call? No. I'd sooner make a complaint online to document the situation. The problem is that chances are that's somebody who's got some mental health issues and leaves the scene before police come. So, they haven't damaged anything, and staying by probably isn't a good idea. But you can make a report of that kind of behavior, give a description. Maybe it's someone who's in need of help. Maybe they need some intervention, and maybe there's services that can be provided, or maybe they're aggressive, and that's going to be the precursor to a more assaultive interaction. So not engaging is the first step there. Don't escalate. From BC, do I remove radar detectors while I'm in Ontario? Yeah. You shouldn't be bringing it in the province. Technically, you're not exempt. So, but my suggestion would be, because I'm not expecting you to leave it at the side of the road, is if you were going to be traveling through Ontario, ensure that you do not use it. Put it in your trunk if you're going to put it anywhere, because we're obviously not going to know you have it if you're not using it. If you use it, however, we likely will. And but we're not randomly stopping cars searching for radar detectors. So, yeah, that's a thing, or not a thing in that particular case. I don't know what a Drake lane permit is. Did he do something again? There was that one video from 2017, which was just an unfortunate video. But yeah, if there's something that Drake has done recently, please let me know. I'm always curious. Not that curious. Do you find yourself overworked when 7 days, 16 hours? When I was on shift work, when I was doing 16-hour days because of arrests made, yeah, I was tired. I'm tired now. I work an 8-hour day and I'm tired because, I get up at 4 a.m. I get here for 6. I leave here by 2, 3, sometimes 4, depending on what my workload is like. And then I drive for an hour to an hour and a half. So, because traffic is a thing. So yeah, am I overworked? I make work. I really do. And then I go home and while I'm working, I'm social mediaing, in between dinner and other things because I want to keep the connection. I want to keep talking to y'all and answer your questions. And I do my best to I'm trying to have a better work-life balance by not being online all the time. But you know what? If I don't answer it now, I either don't answer it ever or I try and answer it. It just stacks up. So there you go. Why is that radar detectors are illegal in Ontario, whether they're, I'm assuming you mean when they're legal in Alberta and BC. Why do we have radar? Why do we do enforcement? We do it because we're trying to catch people doing the wrong thing. We catch them doing the wrong thing so they can be issued a ticket, so we can document the fact that they're not being a good driver, that they're being dangerous and risking the lives of others, and that they get a really nasty feeling from having to pay $200 for their ticket, and then they either have an insurance hike, because that's good. We want you to get an insurance hike because you're going to cost people money by adding risk to life and safety of others. We want you to lose your license when you accumulate too many points. We want to catch you if you're breaking the law. We don't want to warn you that we're there so you can slow down temporarily, get past us, and then speed up again. That's a useless thing. And I really disagree with provinces that choose to allow the devices to be used, because they're shortchanging themselves. They're getting people to pretend they're following the law only when you're watching, and then go back to breaking the law. And that's just not serving the needs of the public, in my opinion. So, of course, that is my opinion. I would very much like to see a crackdown on speed, whether it be electronic or just a lot more traffic officers. But that's just me. I want people to slow down because I want to protect life. Yours. Ashton Stein, hello. Wishing you the best, my favorite officer. Why, thank you very much, my friend. Are you still my favorite Manitoban? Have you moved? I vaguely remember you moving somewhere. Let me know. Inquiring minds need to know. Okay. What if a person with a learner's permit is driving alone? That is your G1 driver who is required to be supervised by a fully qualified G-class driver. That's someone who has 4 years experience. The experience clock starts at G2, but they have to have 4 years total experience. In fact, they should have the 4 vertical dots to the left of their mini-me picture, which is in the bottom right-hand corner of their driver's license. If you don't have someone who's qualified to supervise you, you are a G1 driving unaccompanied. You are eligible for a $110 ticket for that offense. You are additionally going to get a 30-day suspension for your first conviction, a 90-day suspension for your second, and on your third, you will be kicked out of the licensing program, which means you have to start at ground zero. What does that really mean? Well, if you have to have 8 or 10 to, is it 10? I haven't talked about this in so long, I've forgotten. I think it's 10 months if you are, it's either 8 or 10. Oh my God. I can't remember. I think you get 2 months off. So I think it's 10 months if you have a learner, if you have a approved driving school, or it's 12 months if you don't. Yeah, I have to go look that up and confirm. But it's either 8 or 10 months. You get a discount in time for having proper qualifications. But in any case, if you were at, call it 8 months, and then you got 3 convictions, you'd be kicked out, start again, reapply, start at zero experience. If you get into a collision, you have no insurance. The car might have insurance, but you don't have insurance. They will likely deny any claim. You're an unlicensed driver. You caused that collision. Now, what happens if someone lent you that car? They let you drive that car. Permission, here's the keys, go have at her. Well, that is going to get them a ticket under the Highway Traffic Act for putting someone in a position to violate their condition. Yeah, they made it possible. If you took the car without consent, it's, guess what? Take vehicle without consent, criminal code. Now you basically stole the car. Well, if you stole the car, it's different than if you take it without consent. See, one is where it's mom, dad's car or something like that, and you borrowed without permission the keys, as opposed to actually hot wiring it. Okay. What do we have here? Should tow trucks turn on their distracting light? Oh, turn off their distracting light. If they're not towing, it would be great if they turned it off. They have to have it on when they're towing. That's a requirement. So, no, they shouldn't turn it off while they're towing. Oh, American here. Can you explain how Canada's driver's licenses work? It is different in every province, just to add to the confusion, as it would be different in every state in the United States. So, in Ontario, you apply at 16 years old or later for a learner's permit. That learner's permit is called a G1. It starts a 5-year learning process. While you have a G1, you can drive only between the hours of 5 a.m. and midnight, only with and only when you're being directly supervised by a fully licensed G-class holding driver who's sitting in the front passenger seat. In fact, they can be the only person in the front seats of the vehicle. If you had a pickup truck, you could not have a passenger between you. That's one. When you finish, that's bugging me now that I can't remember if it's 8 or 10 months, but if you finish the prescribed year without training or the discounted year with approved training, then you can apply and test for a G2, which is basically a conditional or a probationary license. Now you can drive alone, but you can only hold zero alcohol for any learner or novice driver, and then you can drive alone on any highway, but you can't have between 12 and 5 a.m. a certain number of people under the age of 20 in your vehicle that aren't family. So you can't be the designated driver to the nightclubs because you're probably not going to be able to transport anybody, well, if they're under the age of 20. And that's a thing. And then when you finally do that for a year, you're eligible to write and do the road test for a G-class license called a G2 exit, and that is how it works. Now, there's different classes of license for different types of vehicles. The G-class is your general, I guess, general license for automobiles and light trucks. Okay. Do you have a chief at the station? I had the chief at the station. The chief was here up until about 30 minutes ago, and which is actually, I think, a new record, the longest he spent on air with us, which is awesome. We don't have a chief at the station, though, like a station chief. What we have is a superintendent, or in our case, an acting superintendent, who is, in charge of the officer in charge of the station. Okay, Sebastian, I've read your question. We're not going there. Okay. We already talked about spitting on cars. Is there a rule about having two hands on the wheel? Well, it's the best way to go, but it's not against the law to take a hand off the wheel. If you have no hands on the wheel, that's careless driving. And that's a thing we see on occasion. Dirt bikes, we talked about dirt bikes. Do police officers pull over semis for inspection? Yes, police officers have the authority to inspect any vehicle. Now, we have specially trained officers who are capable and have completed training for commercial vehicle inspection, which is, technically I have the authority to pull them over and have a look. I don't know what the heck I'd be looking for other than gross defect. But we have many officers who actually used to be mechanics. They have their mechanics ticket, and others that are just qualified for commercial vehicle inspection. So we do that. We have a team. What do we have here? Do we have to roll the window all the way down in traffic? Maybe you mean in a traffic stop? We have to be able to communicate. If you're opening it up this much, it's no, that's not cool. We have to be able to communicate. Do children/babies count as people in the HOV lane? Last time I checked, peoples are babies and babies are people, and yes, they do qualify. This concept that it's only for people who are gainfully employed, no, that's not accurate. What is this? Do still need to bike on the road if child in back seat? Yes, you do. I think I understand. So in Toronto, and every city and municipality is going to have their own bylaws. You cannot ride on a sidewalk unless you are under the age of 14. You are the rider, and just because you have a passenger who is under 14 does not qualify you for access to the sidewalk. But in Toronto, you have many, many bike lanes. Bicycle lanes are good. Actually, a big fan of that. Except when I'm driving, and then they're like every other driver, like, I wish I had another lane, but I am very appreciative of the fact that we're protecting vulnerable road users. And it doesn't matter if you ride, walk, or drive. We want to make sure that everyone gets home safe each and every day. Is the left lane in a city a passing lane by law? Well, there's no passing lane by law anywhere. It's a concept where you stay right unless you're passing. Now, on a city street, especially in Toronto, no one's going the speed limit. No one's going faster than anyone else. You're all in gridlock all the time. So the concept of saying you can only be in that lane for passing is ridiculous. And the truth is, most people who want to pass are also speeding. You know, that thing where they do that's illegal? Yeah, they do that. I have no sympathy for people who are speeding and upset that people are in their way. If you're speeding, slow the heck down. If you run from the cops, what do you get charged for? It depends. Fail to stop police, escape lawful custody. We need to know more about in what context the running from police is occurring. What is this? So theoretically, I think we talked about this earlier. Actually, we did. Theoretically, how illegal is riding a dirt bike on the roads? One of the things that's illegal about it is it's driving an uninsured motor vehicle on the road, which comes with $5,000 to $25,000 in fines. In addition to, it's possible. It's not an always thing, but you can also be sentenced to up to 6 months in jail. Can I lose my license for riding a dirt bike on the road? Uninsured. I don't know, but I don't think there's points. So it's not a suspendable thing that I'm aware of. I have to look into that to see if you'd lose your license for riding the dirt bike on the road. Sorry for the shaky camera as I tap on it. It's very far away, so I'm less gentle on it. What do I have here? Oh, Q&A. See, I was in the Chiefs folder, and I was not looking for the regular Q&A, so thank you for the heads up. What is Volley? Why are people saying read Volley? Well, Volley is a community space that we have. It's free. You're welcome to join us. You can get the link by going to our bio into the link tree or go to trafficcop.ca. And it's a place where you can send video, voice, or text messages. And you can send attachments, all sorts of cool stuff. But that's what they're sending their messages. So Joseph says, hey, Sean or Chief, if I buy an electric scooter capable of doing 200 kilometers an hour, could I modify it to the necessary modifications on it and register as a motorcycle, or would you guys or gals in police still classify it as unroadworthy? Yes and no. Or is it no and yes? In any case, yeah, a scooter. Now, are you talking about an e-bike? Or which is actually going to be a motorcycle, or do you mean like a stand-up scooter? Because I've seen machines that go that fast on YouTube, I think. Let's assume it's a motorcycle or a bicycle contraption scooter. No, you cannot. That would not be roadworthy. It would have to be licensed as a motorcycle. It would have to be approved by Transport Canada. It would have to be issued a VIN number. And once it had a VIN number, you could license it as a motorcycle on the road. If it did not meet their qualifications for safety to be on the road, then it would not meet also the qualifications as an e-bike, because you said it's capable of doing 200 kilometers per hour. It would have a motor that's more than 500 watts. It would be over 120 kilos probably. In any case, it would not meet the qualifications for e-bike. So it would be a no situation, private property only, racetrack, that sort of thing. Jay says, I didn't realize that's an Andrew Hong pin. That's awesome. Yeah, in fact, if you want to see it or if you want to buy one, you can go to hm19.company.site. hm19.company.site, and that will take you to the web store. They're still available. Okay, what is this? Jace wants to know if I think that I'll be doing this for the rest of my career as an officer, or do you think you'll change departments? So I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm a traffic guy through and through. I've always wanted to be in traffic. I wanted to be a motor officer. I got to do that. I'd love to do that again, quite frankly. I miss being on the bikes. I miss being outside in where trees and air and sunshine happens. But I do enjoy what I'm doing. I don't have any immediate plans. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing until something changes. So, but I wouldn't be against being on the road, and maybe I could do like TikTok while parked at the side of the road. I don't know. We'll see. Radar is legal in Saskatchewan. However, my Saskatchewan safety rating with demerits will cost me $800 on top of the fine. So no thanks. I'm okay without a ticket. What do you mean? Yeah, I don't understand. Are you saying that you lose your safety rating? You have to tell me more about that. I don't understand the Saskatchewanian thing. What is? Yeah, I don't even know how to say Is Saskatchewanian? Saskatchewan? I don't know how to. All right. Can a 14-year-old with an Alberta license drive in Ontario if he's supervised by a fully licensed driver? No. You can't. You have to be 16 years or older to drive in Ontario, regardless of what the laws are in your province. What is this? How much does your impounded car cost to remove? So if you get a stunt driving charge, your vehicle's impounded, how much does it cost to get it out of hock? It depends on how long it's been stored. I think the average number is about $1,500, roughly. But I don't know. Depends on where it's impounded. It depends if it's in the city where the regulations are outside the city where there's less or fewer regulations. What do we have here? How many beers can I drive? How many beers can I have before I can drive? None. Don't drink alcohol and drive. Impaired operation is a thing, and impairment occurs as early as one drink. The truth is that alcohol being involved in your system when you're a driver dramatically increases your chances of collision. And that means it dramatically increases your chance of hurting yourself or somebody else. Now, there's legal limits and when you're going to get a suspension and when you're going to get charged with a breath demand or a breath result. But you could be impaired and arrested for impaired operation with less than the legal limit. Because everybody deals with alcohol differently. And there's no blanket statement of saying 1 beer an hour is okay. It's not. It doesn't work. If I have a glass of wine, I want to go to sleep, not drive. How can you prove a person is using a radar detector? Well, we have to develop the suspicion, the belief that you have a radar detector, at which point we can stop your vehicle and we can search your vehicle and the person's inside the vehicle, because that authority is provided under the Highway Traffic Act. Now, when we find the item, and we can disassemble your car to do it, whether it be a jammer or a radar detector, we can seize it and then charge you. It's a $170 fine and 2 demerit points. Now, I say I can disassemble your vehicle. I can. And then I can let you put it back together, because I don't have to put it back together. I just get to search it for finding the part. So what happens? 99.99% of the time, the individual that we suspect has the device hands it over because they want their nice car to remain nice. And it makes it really easy. But we do search vehicles. We do find things. Is driving underneath a semi-truck in a lowered sports car considered stunt driving? I've seen videos of that on TikTok. It's insane. It is insane. I would say that's stunt driving. I would say that's dangerous driving. Criminally, I'd arrest you. Yeah. I think I'd forego the stunt and just go to dangerous driving. That is ridiculous. Yeah. How do we know what our alcohol breath level is? This is why just not drinking and driving is better, because you don't know. We will know once we test you, and that's already too late. Right? Then there's devices you can buy, but they're not necessarily going to be accurate. Truth is, if you're going to drink, if you're going to consume drugs or be impaired by anything, don't drive. Make the smart decision. Take a taxi. Call a company to pick up your car. It's going to be much less than the $15,000 to $30,000 that you are going to spend when we arrest you, or you hurt somebody, and then we arrest you. What is this? Teen is ASD. Can he bike on a sidewalk? Need letter? I don't know. I'm not aware of any exemption other than the age, under 14. What kind of car do you drive on duty and off duty? I have a minivan at work. It's whatever vehicle. I can take any motor vehicle that's here in our fleet. But when I drive off duty is full size, because I am full size and I want to be comfortable. I thought about a Prius, and then I laughed. And I actually wish I could own a Prius or something that is, less expensive to operate. But I chose comfort, for I am 6'5", not a small person, and I don't like being squished into small cars. It's 10:30. I have had a lot of fun, but it is that time where I must bid you adieu. And but you know what? We'll be back tomorrow at 9:30. Why 9:30? I'm so glad you asked, because we're joining the Jerry Agar Show on News Talk 1010. We're going to be talking to him about stuff and things in his audience. It's a call-in show, and we'll have you on TikTok asking questions, and YouTube and Instagram, and Twitch and LinkedIn and everywhere that you watch. So it's all good. It is all good. Now, I do want to pull up one thing that it's almost silly that I'm talking about it now. I say it's almost silly because I totally forgot. I was waiting when the chief is finished. We'll just talk about Vision Zero enforcement team and where they are today. But since you're watching now, I'll tell you where we is today. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't already subscribed, followed, or liked or shared, please do. Even if we're ending the show shortly, it still helps. Tell people about us. They can come watch the replay. All right. So, October 26th, where is Vision Zero Enforcement Team and what is Vision Zero Enforcement Team? It is a group of officers that are dedicated to the enforcement and behavior-changing activity of issuing tickets. That's right, they are looking for people who are choosing to speed, drive aggressively, drive distracted, or drive impaired. They're doing this issuing of tickets business because they want people to change that behavior. They want to issue a ticket so you don't have fun, so you change your behavior, so you don't get another ticket again, and you don't risk your life or the life of others. Because we know that those activities, those choices behind the wheel, lead to serious injury and death. It's a whole part of the Vision Zero concept, which is about protecting vulnerable road users, and that includes, riders, walkers, not walkers, we're talking about people who are pedestrians, cyclists, and everybody else who uses the road, which is really just motorists, isn't it? I guess is a skateboarder or a pedestrian? I think they are. In any case, where are they today? 14 Division and 41 Division. That's the neighborhoods of Christie, Ossington, Annex, Little Italy, Dorset Park, Kennedy Road, or Kennedy Park, I should say, Birchcliff, Cliffside. People live there. People want to be safe there, and they deserve to be. So we're out there based on stats, the big brain people telling us where to go every day. Yeah, that's where they are. If you're around tomorrow, join us. We'll be here. I'll be here at 6 a.m. So you can get on Volley and chat earlier. Volley is the free app where you can be part of our community and chat with us all the time. You can get that by going to our link tree, which is in the bio, or go to trafficcop.ca and you get all my social media stuff. All right, that's it. I'm out. Play the traffic song because I love it so much. And we'll be back tomorrow at 9:30. See you then. Have a great day. Be safe. Drive sober. Aaron's here. Park legally, please.
Safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and
not get freed.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
Kayla says, listen to the traffic song at double speed sometime. It really rocks. I can only imagine, but I leave it to the regular speed. Have a great day, everyone. Be well, be safe. See you soon.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.